This week, we continue on with our special series of healing dialogues, discussing different energy healing modalities with different energy healing practitioners. And for your entertainment and delight this week, I present my mother, Trisha White. Some of the premium members will be familiar with Mum from some of the ways she gets involved, but she's here to talk about her own professional practice, which is called Pranic Healing. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, the first question, I guess people want to know, what is pranic healing?
Well, obviously it's an energy healing, and it was developed by Chua Sui, who is a Filipino-Chinese person who he started his spiritual journey when he was about 12. He's an extremely bright human being in a very large family in the Philippines, but a wealthy family, none of which kind of impressed him, and he, I guess he was quite in touch with his past lives. So he came in, and around 12 he started to have that sense of his own spirituality. So he started to obviously meditate, and he worked first on his inner self and looking at developing the strength of himself and being aware of his inner self and clearing those questions about who am I, what is my best self, what is my generous self, through meditation, and that sort of a bit like mindfulness but more turning inwards.
Was that a family business? Were they Chinese Buddhist or anything? Or did they just have like a weird
his mother was a Buddhist, and his father was a Protestant and a 32nd degree Mason.
Really?
So he had an interesting thing, and he went to a Catholic school, but he went on to be a chemical engineer, and he went to university.
Oh, you've got a picture of it.
Yeah, here he is.
Let's point it out. I'll hold it up. I can't believe I finally have someone with shorter hands than me on the show. There we go.
It was actually very tall. He was about 6 foot something. He was a very tall person, very huge presence, obviously. And sort of when he walked, people gave him space, but it was his energy, not. Very calm man, very tall, just exuded this amazing energy. So he did went on to do lots of charity work and so forth. But he had Mei Ling was his spiritual person, like
guide,
higher self person,
holy guardian angel. There's all kinds of words.
And he had in many lifetimes. But a man called Mang Ding, sorry, my pronunciation's terrible. He was someone in the physical he'd had in past lives, and he was a teacher he had in the physical, and they did lots of work together. So there are quite a few other, because the Philippines is very spiritual with lots of healers.
Well, that's why I think it's interesting, right? Like, it's famous for things like psychic surgery. People come from all over the world. Yeah. People don't maybe have less of an awareness that the Philippines is a really potent magical place.
Yes, it's they had this. It's not abnormal to have people doing beautiful work in healing.
So how was the family when this happened? Because they were in the Philippines, was it like, oh, we got another one of these? Is that?
I don't know about that, but I don't think so. I think he. There's nothing sort of said about that, but he went on and. But he did lots of charity work, even as a child, helping other people. But he went on and did lots of work, and the Pranic Healing Association worldwide still does lots of charity work, helping adolescents when they were in Philippines, in India, and still in Europe and Ireland and everywhere. They're still doing lots of charity work, even though he's not in the physical anymore. I got off track.
Well, yeah, we were actually. I think we were on like. What is pranic healing? But we're talking to... no, because the next question is on the origin and history. We've took him to... He grew into a very tall man, apparently.
Yeah.
So when did it sort of shift into...
He went through... He was looking for something to... Because of his scientific base and the way... Analytical base, that's how he went, and he wanted to define and take out any... make it so more precise. So he went... he defined what he was doing in a scientific way, looking at what he was doing. So he over the years, it came out in 1987. He published the first book, but he did a scientific approach in what he was doing in looking into the chakras and researching what it was and what he was seeing and how he developed his clairvoyance. And it was obviously there, but he refined and magnified it, I suppose. And then he introduced colour, the use of colour into pranic healing, and how it related to using the colours in the chakra to transmit those into what you're doing in your healing. And they all had effects, because if you're working with the heart or the liver or the kidney, you do different colours, and they all have a healing, cleansing, whatever. So he moved and he not experimented, but he recorded and
noted the results.
So there's pranic healing is structured in a way that it has effects, and they're proven. I mean, so there was that kind of structure in it.
So how did he? I mean, before that, did he set himself up as a healer? When he said, like, I'm going to embark on these series of, let's call them scientific experiments, was he already?
He did both. He had a business, and he had his healing business, and he would do many healings in the morning and the afternoon, because
That's actually a common way of doing it in the Philippines and around the world, where the healer, he or she will have, they might be a farmer, or they might have like a normal job in the village, but they're also the person who knows how to do healing or what have you.
So he and he taught at the same time. So it was quite refined before it went public, like in a book. So.
Cool. So that at some point, so I mean, obviously he was working with chakras and the rest of it, but at some point he decided to embark on, like, I'm going to systematize a method of energy healing so that it's backed by results and can be exported as a system to someone else.
So it keeps a framework and doesn't get kind of wobbly around the edges. That's my words, of course.
It doesn't say wobbly around the edges in
the
book written by a Filipino Chinese man? All right.
But so it has that thing. So what I find, when you tune in and you start to heal, you know that you're connecting into a grid. And for me, what I think happens, the main meditation is the twin hearts, meditation on the twin hearts, and that's like the energetic platform that fires into it. So at any time, there's people doing that meditation, and so you're kind of, not that you're stealing energy, but there's that energetic base to everything that's done. And it's a very strong meditation that blesses not just you, but the earth and all sentient beings. So this compassion in this is what I think helps to lift pranic healing and keep it stable.
You're participating in a field effect. I like that about my system for the same thing. Yeah. And that's funny, because I remember you asking me earlier in this year, like, how are the healings going? How are you finding it, having clients? And I said, my first thought was, it's a privilege. Like, it's such a privilege. And that feeling is you going to work with these amazing beings, right? Yeah. And it's that participating in a field effect kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, cool. And that's right, because when you go to do a healing and you invoke, they're coming to help.
Yeah.
That it opens this, and they say, right, thankfully someone is here and we can help.
Yeah.
And we can you feel that energy flow through you, and you pass it on. It's not like, oh my goodness, these are all my lollies, I'm keeping them. It's goodness, thankfully someone is here, we can flow this down to the recipient, but also to the earth and to others. So, and the thing with the Twin Hearts meditation, it's blessing everybody at the end. It's not keeping this for yourself, it's passing it on, flowing it out. So it's a compassionate thing.
Alberto says, open sacred space and get out of the way.
Yes. And that's, I think that's what I feel when I do a healing. I always think I'm just the vessel, and I feel myself step back, and I feel this energy come through and do it. And, and they, just glows through you and out. And,
So on last week's episode with Lance about Reiki healing, I asked the question that I'm going to ask you later on in this episode, which is, how do you think it works? And Lance about Reiki said, I think it's an invitation. I think Reiki works because basically his words about what we're saying here, which is that you, with your intention, step into being just the conduit for, and it does, and there's something funny about reality, that it does take someone, you have to ask. You actually
Yes.
have to call them in, and it's strange in a way, but it just is.
Yes, yeah.
And once you do that, let's please come, let's get to work.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. Yeah.
Nice one. All right. So how did you find it? How did you find pranic healing?
Well, they talk about spirit giving you a nudge, giving you a nudge. So the year that it happened, I'd had my funny experience in Fiji.
In Fiji,
I
yeah.
sort of died on Good Friday, came
Yeah.
back on Good Sunday.
I've written about that in the blog early on. You find
Yeah.
about 8 years ago. Yeah. You pulled a Jesus in Fiji.
I did, and then I thought, not listening. And then later on in that same year, I broke my leg very badly and had to sit down for X weeks. And then in that time, just after that, I was up walking again, and one of my neighbours who's also spiritual said, "Oh, look, I've got this brochure, let's go and do this." So we went off, and it was an introductory to pranic healing. And I thought, and it was wonderful. So I thought, I hadn't, feeling the energy. Oh, wow, look at this, I can feel the aura, I can do this. And I started quickly to see the crown chakra, the ajna, etc., etc. So that was it, the first introduction. But
was there a sense during that, before you went to that introduction, with the grand mal seizure in Fiji or whatever it was, and breaking your leg, that were you aware that, like, okay, what am I not getting? What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah, the second one was, okay.
Yeah, what's happening?
Nudge.
Okay,
Yeah, come on. You need to step into this and stop. I mean, I was still always getting empathic stuff and seeing stuff, la la la. And I thought, no, that's all I need to do. No, there's more. And this is the doorway. And
yeah, because for people who don't know, I think you were the second guest ever on the show years ago now, around Christmas. So, like, Mother's done her autobiography backstory there. But there's been a bunch of stuff that happened. You've always been interested in this stuff: automatic writing, living in haunted houses, all kinds of, the typical thing that happens to people on who end up in this world.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of backstory, but in particular, how you found it was a year where the universe was trying to get your attention.
Listen, we are talking to you. Yeah. And so that opened up, and it was a thing that opened me up well and truly to seeing and feeling, and certainly scanning, because something I hadn't done was mainly sensing, the clairsentient stuff, and hearing much more, and very quickly, because it does get that sense of just rub your hands, you feel it together. Oh, okay, oh my goodness, what's in that? And it was instant. So I did that, and then went to Sydney with Wendy, and did the first course with her, and then he was coming out.
This is the Grandmaster?
Grandmaster, and I've done all the rest with him.
Yeah.
And that was just smack, He's an amazing teacher.
So what was it like first time meeting him after all that?
Oh, wow, it's just like, whoa! It's just, like when you went down to see the Dalai Lama, his energy was just sitting in Sydney like this. Yeah. And he was a bit the same, because you got into Sydney, he was outside the room, just... he could blow people over with his breath. It's amazing, very, very clever, and you could just feel it. And
so he came out. You didn't go to the Philippines? It's taken you some places, but you didn't go to the Philippines. No. Yeah, no,
sadly.
That's cool.
But it's amazing. He's both a gentle teacher. The energy is gentle, but when he just lifts people up, because when he gives Shaktipat with a peacock feather.
Shaktipat is?
Oh, I'll show you my feather. Not mine. It's mine, not his, sadly. But he taps people on the back heart with a feather, and that's literally what it is. And when he does it, it's measured for you, and it can put you to the ground. It's just boom, it's measured doses to put his energy into your body to lift you to another level. And it's just amazing, and it just pops your energy up and up and up. So, which is an amazing sensation, because you go, oh, boom. So he does all those sort of amazing things. When doing one of the things in Melbourne, and he was doing, I can't remember which one it was, one of the I had it yoga type things, and we'd had dinner, and sitting at the table with him, and Hazel, who was the head of Victoria, she said he left because he'd had enough of, because we're very congested people, so he ends up sucking a lot of the stuff off you, and his eyes get all inflamed, and he said, he goes. And she said, sit on his chair. And I thought it was a bit strange. So she said, no, go on, quick, quick. So I sat on his chair. I'm sitting down, and this huge rush of this massive energy came up through my body, just roaring up. I felt like I was just brilliant white and buzzing, roaring up through me. And this is another energetic lift, and just threw me up through my crown and everything. I thought, woo! And I thought, I need to get off here, because my husband was there at the same time. I thought, I don't really want to have an orgasm right now. A table full of people. And I said, she said, and I said, and she said, no, everybody sat on that. There were about 10 of us, whatever, at the table. And everybody sat on the table and the chair and got exactly the same response. It was just, he'd do things like this, and that's the energy body of a real master, to leave that imprint as a gift in the chair. It's just random.
So he obviously, while he was alive in a body, he would train people around the world.
Yeah.
But how did it grow? Like, so he wrote, was the first book written in like Filipino?
No, he had it in all languages.
Yeah. So did it grow in the Philippines first and then around the world, or did it grow more outside the world outside the Philippines than in? As far as you know, having not been to the Philippines.
No, I don't. Yeah. Well, he went everywhere.
Yeah.
Of course, Yeshaya Ross and Wendy, I can't think of Wendy's second name right now, they brought him to Australia.
Okay.
And it just went whoosh from there. I can't remember. It just went, once it was published, it just hit the things and just went bang.
So what was the first book called? Do you know?
Where was it? It's over here. Miracles of Pranic Healing. I can't find it. What's this one?
Advanced Pranic
No, that's
Healing.
the one that came out second. He's lined it up a bit more. That's the first one.
That's
Miracles through Pranic
I'll hold
Healing.
it closer. There we go. So that was the one that came out first.
Yeah.
And very cool.
Yeah, then it went to Advanced Pranic Healing.
It's a younger picture of him on the back. I should do that with my books.
And then we did Pranic Psychotherapy.
So pranic psychotherapy, talk to me about that. Actually, talk to me about that in this context, because the next question is, obviously Lance was on the show last week, and Reiki is structured into 3 or 4, Reiki 1, 2, 3 master, right?
Oh, yeah.
How is pranic healing structured? Is it by topic? Because you mentioned
Yes.
Ahadic yoga. So it's not, you don't become Pranic Healer 1, then Pranic Healer 2. How does
sort
it work?
of. You come up, you go up you do one, the basic one, and then you come up and there's crystal healing, psychotherapy, all that kind of stuff.
So, but it's by topic. But
Yes, you come up.
there's a sequence. So you
Yes.
can't be like, I'm going to do crystal healing, then Ahadic yoga, then...
No, you can't. Ahadic yoga is right at the top.
Right.
You have to come up in the layers to get
Cool.
to it, yeah. And you can't go Ahadic yoga 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to be in it for a certain number of years and then get to the stage you can go up, yeah. I've only done the first 2 layers, 2 years or whatever it is of Ahadic yoga. Then he passed, and I sort of didn't do any more. So that kind of, so.
No, but I think that's one of the questions I think people would want to know. Is like, well, how is it structured? And would you recommend people, like, read the book anyway? Like, if they're, say, oh yeah, I'm interested in various forms of energy healing?
I would suggest go and do the pranic healing, because it's...
Like, get a session?
I don't know. So I just like it as a modality. That's mine.
Yeah.
I haven't done the others. I've done other things, but I haven't done Reiki or anything, because for me this is where I started, and I have...
So you think, like, go and do an intro course rather than read the book to see if you like it? So, like, if people are interested in this right now, should they get his first book to be like, oh, I might be interested in this?
I get the basic book, because otherwise you can't jump across, because there's certain techniques in how you project the energy and where it comes from. Of course, you use certain chakras to do certain things, and there's certain ways you send it with your hand.
But you'd get a feeling for whether the system's going to be for you
Yeah,
if you read Miracles of Pranic Healing.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned chakras a bit. How does it understand the human energy body? How does this system understand the human energy body?
It uses 11 chakras and some more, smaller ones. I've even got a picture.
Do you?
I have pictures.
This is the good thing about doing the episode in Mother's spirit room. All her stuff is here.
And he looked at that because he's an extremely intelligent man, obviously, and learned in that he liked to, and being a scientific, I was sitting on the books, sorry folks. So he, here we are.
I'll hold it up close because we're sitting way back.
So you see he's got little ones. I've got a pencil.
That's all right, just point.
So you see there's 11 of them. You can see some minor ones. There's obviously the classic ones, but the things that are different and are important are the thing called the Meng Meng, which is...
Oh, yeah.
See? So that one's, for your physical body, is the thing that can really, if someone's got really bad blood pressure and things like that, that's the one you'll find wonky. You'll be either enlarged or slightly off balance. And you've got a thing over here.
You can lean forward and point if you want.
Can I have a look?
Yeah. Sorry.
So...
You're saying you can't look backwards through the...
No, I can't.
Yeah.
It's like your spleen, these ones, there's not really, it's something that will affect yourself as your whole, whatever you want to call it.
Your whole overall field or body.
Yeah,
right?
they're not seen in the whole energetic system by other...
I was holding it up. Where's this? Oh, Meng. Okay.
So the Meng. Yeah, it's in your back, not your front. So
lower back.
Yeah.
Kind of like, above the butt, lower back.
Yes. So it has to be functioning correctly because your base is where you hold a lot of energy. This is not the physical I'm just talking about. So the Meng Men then will pulse a lot of the energy going up through your body, but it has to be functioning correctly. So that's an extremely important part of it. So getting the flow right, as everybody knows, energy healers, that you've got to get it right. And you don't quite often pick that up. So keeping that balance, it's not a big chakra, but when it's out, it's really out. So that's the first one you can look at, and especially people who have bad blood pressure issues.
All right, that's interesting. So looking at this, because it has chakras in it, and we'll talk about energy bodies in a second, but the additional stuff like the minor chakras look, that's a weird way of saying it, a little bit meridianing.
Yes, he does. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going with that. And sitting on...
Chinese Filipino, you would be around traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah. And he'll say that they'll be sitting on some of these, I don't know the correct terms for the meridians, but you feel them coming down. He gives them proper names, obviously, but I don't, because he's studied all that sort of stuff as well. So he talks about them, and now I've lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the Meng Men, but
but that to me, I think I find that in when I'm working to be the one that indicates quickly to me what's going on, what's really out of balance from what I've been doing. But all the hand chakras and things like that are important, and I use the ones in the knees a lot because I find that if they're not in balance either, a lot of your thoughts are strangely out of balance. Because it's a long way from your brain, I know, but it shows that for me that if they're not functioning or one of them's not working properly on a mental level, that there's not a lot of processing going. There's not a flow in the whole body mentally. I know it's a long way, as I said, but you can clear it very quickly, and you put a figure of 8 through, and it clears it and balances them both up, and that will free a lot of thoughts in the head. So they're interesting little bits in the chakras that just a couple of things.
So it's principally a chakra system in the sense that you work with, depending on what's wrong with, this is a difficult thing to say when it comes to clients, right? Like, if someone comes to you because they're in a lot of arm pain because of surgery, well, you're not going to be messing around with the chakras quite so much as you're clearing someone's pain, right?
Yeah.
But in theory, the system is one of using your own chakras to do different things, but like a chakra diagnostics and adjustment, majority-wise?
Yeah. So that's right. So when someone comes in the door, I do a quick scan of the outside physical aura, and you can see, it has like wavy lines in the bit that's off. I go, okay, so we're coming in close. So it's in that part, something's off in that bit, if I'm doing a physical one. that's the first indication there's something wrong. So when I'm doing a pranic healing, and the physical pranic healing, you come in really close to the body, and it's basically, then you take the, energetically, I feel like I am going into the physical part of the body. So, yeah, is that what you mean? Is that
Yeah,
what,
kind of.
Yeah.
So what I want people to, I'm trying to get with all these different modalities, like how they see, what framework they have to understand the human energy field. And it's principally chakras with some meridians in it, but they're also like, does it have multiple actual energetic bodies? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, well, yeah,
so how does it see that?
You see the outer aura, then there's another tight one inside. When they walk in the door, you can sort of see that. So you come in, first of all, you clean off all the dross, see what the wiggly lines are going into, and then you come in, and then you go into the body. And you use your own different, base, heart, crown, blah, blah, blah.
So how does that work? How would I scan someone with my sacral chakra? How does when you say you use your own base chakra, how do you do that?
It's a hand throat. You pull the energy through, receiving, threading. That's what I mean. There's different things you do for different things, whether it's the kidney or the liver or whatever. There's different projections. That's why you need to do a course.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But so what happens is you will pull in energy and transmit it to a client from a specific part of your energy body, depending on what's wrong with them.
Yes, and yes,
Okay.
That's right. So it's a whole, different organs like the kidneys and things like that. They're controlled. They're treated differently with different colours and things like that. So and different blends of colours. They all do different things. It's mixtures, formulas,
that's cool.
if you like, of different ways of sweeping and cleaning and energising, and you do it in certain ratios.
But so arguably it has quite a complex, or detailed is a better word,
detailed
framework for the human energy body, because it's got chakras and meridians and sort of like multiple energy bodies. And it works with them, all of that. But principally the chakras and the energy bodies. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's why, I mean, you feel when you come in, when I'm doing a physical healing, you're coming really close with your energy right into the flesh. I can put my hands into somebody's blood and clean it. And you can feel it running through your fingers, and you tell what's in it, and you feel the viscosity, and you know what's in it. And it's a very deep in-body thing. And then when you're doing something, if it's not that, if it's something coming out and you know that it's something karmic and past life, it's a different shift in the energy, and you know that you're pulling out and you're sitting in a different sort of timeline, and it's a whole different scenario. So you pop up and you're in a different basically dimension. So you're looking at a time space and you're seeing what it is, and the whole clairvoyant thing's coming up as you touch each chakra, and it comes up and you see what the life thing is, and you see where it is, and it's coming into that bit of the body or the organ that's flicking up where the pain is or the issue is locked, and then you can pull it down and get the realisation and see what it is, and as that releases, then you do the other stuff and you get the awareness. And so that's a different shift of where you're using.
So in both cases, because one of the reasons I'm asking the same questions to each person, like talking about their energy modality, is I think there's some good cross comparison there. So talking to Lance last week, in Reiki, the Reiki understands Reiki, the universal energy, to direct, to go where it needs to go in the body to do something. Now I expect, because that has sometimes happened to me, I expect that's in this system, but within pranic healing, it actually relies on the diagnostic capacities of the healer to go to where things need to be done. You said it is more like psychic surgery than Reiki, like you're actually getting in there and doing things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Does it have beings? Like I have lineages that I work with, but does it come with beings, or did Choukok Sui build it so that it could be interfaith, multi-denominational, fit with whoever you are?
It's your own team. He has the Supreme Being, obviously, and all your guides, and he's his Mei Ling. He's the person he's had with him, and that Mei Ling has been the supreme guide for him for a long time and whatever. So you have your own. He obviously comes in all the time for me.
Sure.
And I can receive a blessing from his hand. I always get a blessing from his hand before I start. And yeah, so I feel him in my heart when I just even say that. I can feel his energy coming into my body just by saying that. Yeah, so yeah, it's just your team.
Okay.
Your
But are
connection.
there, when you go through the training, there are techniques to find the team, or does he expect that either people who are coming to him, because everyone has their team,
Yes, everybody
regardless,
has it.
it's
Yeah,
just a question
yeah.
of you finding out who they are.
Yeah, and I think it's within you to have the compassion to want to work with people and help.
Yeah.
That's what opens your energy up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So, because obviously with my modality, you have your own team, but there are lineages that you get lineaged into,
Yeah.
and it comes with beings that you have to build a relationship with. Okay. And that's not necessarily you'll be building a relationship with your team in pranic healing.
Yeah.
But there's no jaguar and hummingbird and eagle and serpent like in my case, right?
Well, no, not that I know.
No,
Well, I don't have it anyway.
No, that's the thing. I think people. I'm trying to convey what each modality looks like,
Yeah,
and so we've got where it came from and how it understands the energy body and how it's quite interventional in how it does its healings.
Yeah.
The next question is like, so are there any beings that come along with it, right?
I always call in the client's team as well
same.
and see who comes in and see, obviously ask, who do they call in, who are they, and that sort of stuff. So it's two teams working together for the one person.
Yeah. No, that's good. I do that too. That's a good tip. We'll do that because obviously we have the premium members course, if you're unaware, that's going on at the same time on energy healing, and that's something to do if you're healing someone to call in their team as well.
Yeah. So because they have a obviously vested interest in the human being you're working with. Yeah.
Very cool. So how do you think it works?
The energy.
No, how do you think pranic healing works? Because remember I asked Lance that question and he said I think it works by invitation. I think it's you call people in and it more or less just happens. But like, how do you think it works? Do you think it's something like that?
I'm not sure what you mean.
It's a difficult question, but like, how do you think it works? What do you think happens?
Well, I think I believe in the one unity consciousness of the world, and I think if you connect to that, and obviously I'll have the Grandmaster, and I connect into that energy that pranic healing is built, and it's a positive energy. And if you know how to connect to that and bring that forward and connect to the energy of the human being in front of you, you're joining that together. When you scan, you can feel it. You feel that stuff that's there between you. So it's tactile rather. You can feel it. You know it's there, and you're calling for it. Is that what you mean?
Sort of. Well, like Lance's question or answer rather for Reiki was the Reiki healer essentially invites the universal energy in, and that's what it does.
The one unity consciousness. Yeah, I'm joining into that consciousness that's there, ready to be called on, and you're there offering yourself as a vessel to bring it through for a positive reason. You're here. Yeah. How does it work? I think
that's it. But
you're
I think
in a sacred space. I always, before people come, I come into my space here. I clear the normal everyday energy out of it. I sweep the space. I set the space. I kind of seal it. I set on the Grandmaster's Om to lift the energy to create the sacred space. So I'm already connecting and making them above aware that I'm going to have a healing here. Then I sit in meditation and prepare myself so that I'm clear. So I'm connecting already. The space is already connected before the person comes, and it's set so that it's lifted. The energy is lifted. The space is created for a sacred healing.
Yeah.
So it's so the whole place is energized for that to occur. So that's what I think creates the space for it to occur.
All right, I'll ask the question this way. I remember at the very beginning, within the first year or so, because Dad's a doctor, and you were going off training on how to do healings, and he struggled to understand what healing meant in this context because he comes from a system where suppression of symptoms is considered curing, And I would argue they don't really do healing, right? But when you say, well, you were just talking about letting the higher powers know that a healing is going to happen here. What is a healing? That's another hard question.
Well, they can come in various sizes, can't they? The awareness, I don't advertise. Spirit brings people to me. Word of mouth or something like that, though, someone will come and be referred or whatever by someone else, because that's how it gets here. The person comes, so they come that way. So Spirit's already brought them to me, so they're already coming for something that can be achieved.
No, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So So what is a healing? There are all different types. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some are from very physical to very esoteric. What I do, so.
But is it? So Alberto says curing is the removal of symptoms, healing is an experience of infinity.
Yeah.
Right. So, because I remember having this conversation with Dad, because he couldn't understand what you and your friends meant by healing.
Yeah.
Because he's a doctor, and so he thinks healing is the same thing as curing, which is suppression of symptoms. And so I find, and I don't think Alberto's definition is super helpful. The defining curing as removal of symptoms is useful, but experience of infinity, it's something for me like returning to right relation with the universe. Like a healing is you were out of alignment, now you're back in flow.
Yeah, yeah.
And that can be anything, as you say. That can be physical, all the way to I was carrying this past life trauma for 1,100 years, and now, now I don't have to.
Yeah. And I've been looking back over some of the people I've seen. There was a mother and a daughter in particular, who both had breast cancer. And I saw both over a period of time, and the mother passed away, and it ended up, I was able to separate the lives so that the mother, in right time, passed, with appropriate, how do you put it, awareness of the passing and where she's going, and able to leave the daughter and the grandkids. And the mother, her family was young, I was able to get her to the point where the youngest child was able to leave, and she was able to leave, the mother was able to leave.
Yeah.
Because both mother and daughter knew that they were going to pass. But she knew that she was going to leave the earth, but didn't want to leave when the little one was quite little. So even though it wasn't a miraculous cure, it was a cure, inverted commas, I'm not saying a cure, it was a situation where she got to a point where she could tolerate or leave.
Yeah.
So there's different sorts of...
No, that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, so in the last time she came, we looked at where she was going to and what was ahead for the family. So, yeah. So there's those sorts of ones, and there's other ones where she say people come and they've had horrendous things happen in their life, so you can lift that pain, that psychic pain, as well as the past life pain.
Yeah.
And you have the other things, like someone came who had been wanting to move from working in a job that was an hour and a half's drive, and she had a young child, been trying for 7 years. So we clear the karma of why she was kept at this job over there. That was Friday. She got to work Monday, and they rang her to say, "You've got the job. Boom, move back." So there's different sorts of things that you can do, stuff like that. So they're all different, and they're all effective, and they're,
Cool. So what is it good for? Like, what things is it, we're just discussing some of them now, and what things is it not so good for as a system?
I think arrogance is one of the hardest things to clear. When you know that that's something that they've brought in as a life contract to deal with. That's a really hard one. You get people to try and look at that in their life and what that's actually, when your life contracts look like funny round, pearly looking flat pearl things strung together of different lengths. And sometimes you can get people to look at these life contracts and you can get a clearance from them above, the Council of Contract people that you make these things with before you come down. And that's one that they won't surrender for some unknown reason. And interesting. And it really messes with people's lives, this inability to look at their own arrogance. And yeah, that's the one that I find is really tough and hard, and it really messes with people's lives. So, yeah.
Interesting answer. Because I put this question in looking back over the Bengston method and William Bengston research on curing cancer in rats with his healing method, right? And so he's done a bunch of university studies on the things that his method is good for. It's really good for curing cancer in rats and okay at curing cancer in humans. But he says there's things that it doesn't work quite so well for, and he doesn't know why. Yeah. And so that answer was interesting to me, where you jumped straight into like, well, it's really good for clearing sadness or anxiety or stress and high blood pressure, but it's not good for arrogance. It's interesting that you went into specific topics. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that cancer is a very difficult one because I think it's wound up in this what I've come into experience. And people weirdly choose to do these things. I mean, not weirdly, I shouldn't say that's not right. They want to experience things in different lifetimes. Excuse me, and they want to do the health thing. And it's very hard to let them, or try to get them to get out of that. I don't know.
I also think, because the method that I use works at the level of the field, which I mean all of these do, but it very explicitly is like clearing things out of your field, right? By the time you're at cancer stage, whatever was the disruption in the energy body has had a physical effect, and you can actually turn the tap off, but you've still got this pool of water, which is the cancer in the physical. So, which is why the Bengston method's interesting, because it doesn't have any. He doesn't like ritual. He doesn't like any of these beings, but it's actually quite good at physical stuff. Has nothing. I don't know this because I don't use the system, so I can't say this with any confidence. But my assumption is it's not used very much for past life stuff or whatever, because it's not. It's like, my knee is sore. Please fix my knee. So what I'm trying to get, or what I'm interested in seeing if I can find in this exploration of the modalities, is which ones are good at certain things and why. And his is quite good at least cancer in mice.
Wow.
But nothing really to say about past lives or preparing people for death or any of that kind of stuff, which is a shamanic role.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, cool. All right. I think that's, what other modalities does it best support or is best supported by? Now, let me give you Lance's answer, just so you can be like, okay. So what goes well with Reiki? And he says, well, the people that he trains that really respond well are some kind of body workers. So massage therapists, anyone who's already doing human touch, really good with Reiki. So tattoo artists, massage therapists, and so on. And so acupuncture works really well with Chinese herbalism. So there are modalities that work really well with each other. In your experience, what goes really well if someone's on a wider healing journey that includes pranic healing but might have other stuff? What does it go well with?
Well, in some places they use pranic healing in sort of hospitals and stuff because it's very good at stopping bleeding. Dental hygienists, again, stopping bleeding, stuff like that, because it does. You people, you just use a certain colour and it stops cleansing, bang. I don't know. I haven't. Don't know. But I can't answer that. But I know that they do use it. They use it a lot with kidney. In medical places, it's really good for kidney work.
So this is probably the answer then. So it actually works. Yeah. It works to support allopathic medicine quite well.
Yeah, Grandmaster used to say we are the batteries in the machinery of medicine.
That's cute. I like that.
And he found it because they do it that way. It's very good for cleaning the organs and getting the the dross out of stuff. So very good it's very good if you're cleaning an operating theatre before you've got anybody, a client or anybody going in. It's people ring and say, I've got to have something done. So I clean the room, clean all the surgeons, obviously clean the client, and they go in and it makes a huge difference.
Well, I think we've landed on it then, so it goes well. So would you recommend it to people who are recovering from chemotherapy, for instance?
Oh, yeah, and the other thing I do with chemo, for people who are having that, I get them to be aware that it's a blessing that's coming in. So you bless what's coming in, and it feels very different, the chemo coming through. Bless it before it gets in their body. Bless the person who invented it. All of this sort of stuff. So it makes it a much more gentle journey.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right.
You see it as a flowing river, like a gentle stream, not necessarily a giant river, but like a small, gentle stream. Sorry. But yeah, I do that. I get them to mentally see that as something gentle, like a tiny, gentle stream coming down, and see that thing, get them to sense themselves lying somewhere like that and having this thing gently flowing over them, not a thing up their arm or anything. So give them that visualisation and have this peaceful, gentle infusion time.
No, that's cool. I'm glad it's the allopathic process, because I wasn't sure if Lance was going to say that, but he gave the right answer too, and I think we got to it. Because obviously, my answer, as far as I can tell, I think shamanic healing goes really well with a plant medicine journey. So if you're working on stuff that includes things like ayahuasca or what have you, these systems speak the same language, so they go really well together. And I think we've got it.
Yeah.
It works well with like traditional allopathic approaches. That's cool. All right. So for people who want to know more about pranic healing, are there professional organizations? So people who, like, where do you get the book? Is there a global one?
There's a website, Pranic, everywhere. It's on the net. You can buy them. There's meditations. And of course, I like the Twin Hearts. I don't know where I put it.
Well, you gave me one of them, but are they freely available? Can I link that below? Or will I find it on YouTube?
Oh, yeah, it's on iTunes or something, like one of those things.
Okay, cool.
What are those? The meditation.
Yeah. So I'll link it so people can find it.
And it's got exercises before, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Right. So what's the sort of professional or official organization called if people want to look up more and find the books and see if there's, introductions going on somewhere near them? How do they find that, you think?
Just Pranic Healing.
PranicHealing.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's easy.
Well, just Pranic Healing will come up, and it's in Europe and Ireland and.
But so there isn't like one official overriding body?
Well, when he died, his partner, she went to Europe because he is divorced. Didn't do much for his marriage because he was too busy doing everything else. They got divorced in the Philippines, and then he met another lady, and then she went back. She was from Europe, and I don't know what. Anyway, so that's what happened there. But there's ones in every country, every state and everything. So everywhere.
All right, very good.
So everywhere at any time, there's always a meditation on. That's why it's
nice one.
So and the books are in all languages. So the Om is excellent.
Okay.
Absolutely excellent.
So I'll try and find the Twin Hearts and the Om, the Grandmaster Om. I'll try and find them, and you might see them linked up below this video if you're watching it. If not, go and find them if you're interested. All right, well, even I learned something, and I've heard some of these stories before, so thank you very much.
That's all right. It was my pleasure. It's been a joy, and he has been life-changing for me. Yeah, he's come to me at various times. Saw him in the physical after he'd passed in Siem Reap.
Siem Reap, really?
Yeah, because I'd obviously had a life there because I went into one of the women's temple, Banya Shri or something it was called, and I walked in and thought, you know how when you've been to a place and you live there sort of thing, and I thought, I've been here before, and whoa, and I was walking, the night before he'd actually come and given me a Shaktipat with a feather. I thought, that's very nice. And the next day was this temple, walked in, found this, I thought, okay, this is a room I've lived in, little tiny thing. It's a women's temple. And anyway, I came walking back out and there was a monk there, and I said to my husband, can I have some money when I go and give him some money? And went over and bent right down and looked, and this little monk, and the man looked up at me, and it was the Grandmaster in the physical.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes, I've had some. Yeah. After he died, he came back. Well, a year or so later, and I kept seeing it's Master Chow, and I thought, what the heck? And he come. I said, oh, and I realised. I said, and he said, I've merged with the Mahatma. So I had this massive upgrade.
Wow.
So there we are.
Very
Amazing
cool.
man, amazing
Very cool.
energy. There's been other things, but anyway.
Oh no, sure. No, it's been really good.
Yeah,
It's been
so,
fun.
when you meet to it, well, he's one of my gurus, so
Yeah.
so I've had other lives with him. So
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you once again.
thank you for the